Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894. I'm Hugh, and I've got Joe here with me for the City-Chelsea preview. A chance to wrap up the Premier League, get a look at our Champions League final opponents. Let's get into our thoughts. Right, like I said, this is a chance to finally mathematically wrap up the English Premier League. We've known for a while that we're most likely going to be champions, and this weekend we can finally do it on our own terms. We knew if Liverpool were to beat Man United last weekend, it would have given us the title, but it is kind of a nice thing to know that we can do it on our own terms and win it on the pitch so the players can see, can see their celebrations and enjoy it. But let's not disregard our opponents for a second, because they are now officially our Champions League final opponents. Of course, we qualified for the Champions League final. We knocked out PSG in fine fashion, and then it was over to Chelsea to do their part against Real Madrid the following night, and they did so. So it's a City-Chelsea all-English final in Istanbul as it stands, and this is almost kind of like a precursor to it. It's going to be, teams are going to get to see what each other look like. Obviously, they knocked us out of the FA Cup semi-final just a matter of weeks ago, and now I think you kind of want to win this one now for two reasons, not just to mathematically wrap up the Premier League, but to also kind of show Chelsea, that FA Cup semi-final was just a bit of a blip on our part. What do you make in all this, Joe? It's obviously it's a massive game, even though we have almost pretty well wrapped up the Premier League. There's so much riding on this game.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of, what do you do in this situation? Do you sort of send the message that, okay, you might have beaten our B team, but this is our A team. We can beat you. Like, do you go for it, or do you sort of try and hide away, still go, well, the game's not too important because we have got other chances. Like, we've got easier games coming up. We've got Newcastle, Brighton, Everton in there as well. Do you sort of play the B team again and try not to give too much away? I mean, we're good enough to beat them regardless, I think. It's just a matter of what will Pep do. I think the substitutions that he made on Tuesday are quite telling of who he might play, because he took off the likes of De Bruyne and the likes of Foden during the match.
You and Dara obviously did the watch along on the channel here for Chelsea versus Real Madrid. I watched the game myself, and if there's one thing I picked up on, is that they are definitely going to be tougher opponents for us than Real Madrid would have been. Tuchel plays this really, really defensive style of football, and it seems to be really effective for them when they go forward as well. They seem to be able to get goals. Obviously, they're not the most clinical going forward, but they can get goals and win games. But their defense seems to be their main attribute. They're really solid in defense. They play five at the back for most part, and it's quite hard to break down. And that proved to be the point when we played them in the FA Cup semi-final a few weeks ago. We couldn't break them down. But you have to bear in mind, we were just a few days after beating Dortmund. So our team was fairly emotionally and probably physically drained, even though plenty of them didn't feature in the Dortmund game. It was still a massive occasion. How do you think, if City are to go full strength, how do you see us breaking them down? Do you think we pose much more threat than Real Madrid? I personally do. I think we have enough to do it, but we know from recent weeks in the City, probably take away the second PSG game, we're very much that second half FC. We sometimes struggle to get into the flow of the game pretty quickly, and it kind of passes us by until very late in the game. I think there's a lot of possible outcomes with this City-Chelsea game, and I think Tuchel will probably want to make another stamp on Pep that whilst we may be whilst City may be the slight favourites to win the Champions League, Chelsea aren't going to Istanbul to lose it.
Yeah, I mean, that game where we did lose that FA Cup semi-final, we did struggle to break them down. But if you look at the team selection on the night, we had the two more attacking fullbacks there. But the only real creative midfielder we had was Kevin De Bruyne, because we played the two defensive midfielders on the day. And our front three had next to no creativity whatsoever, without Mahrez, without Foden, no proper false nine. We played a striker. So I can see if we do go with the full team, there'd be a lot more creativity. And, we are second half FC. There are a few instances, like the second leg against PSG, where we kind of, we get through the first half and we were actually quite good. I think on our day, we can definitely beat anyone. But yeah, obviously you're more confident in the A team. But, we're at home. We should be looking to win most of our home games. And, this is no exception.
Right, so after watching Chelsea, it's very clear how they play. Like I said just a few moments ago, they're very defensive, but they do have those threats. Timo Werner will take great confidence from the fact that he got a goal again the other night, and Mason Mount, of course, is obviously very prolific. He's one of the shining stars of the Premier League at the moment. And they also have a few players that scare the life out of me sometimes. I think Christian Pulisic has a lot of talent. He can cause trouble for any defence on his day. And then they've got Giroud sitting on the bench, who I sometimes understand why he's not starting. What are your thoughts on Chelsea, and how do you think that pose against our defense? Because obviously, after watching that second leg against PSG, our defense was outrageous. I mean, it kind of stamped the narrative for me that Ruben Dias has to be in the top 3 centre halves in the world. Obviously, Zinchenko played the game of his life. Stones and Walker likewise. So it'll be a much tougher test for Chelsea's attack going forward. But I also think it'll be a very tough test for our backline, especially after that game against PSG.
Yeah, I said on the Chelsea Real Madrid stream, I said Zinchenko for me now has to be in the conversation with the best left backs in the country. He's just so consistent week in, week out. He never really drops below a 6 or 7 out of 10. We say this all the time. And in the player ratings on the PSG game, we gave him a 10. He was our man of the match because he was just amazing. He lost his head at one point. That's natural. Some players do. The gauging gets to them. It's, he showed passion there. But, Stones is still suspended for this game, which it's not a worry because we do have capable centre-backs. Laporte is obviously, he's been our best centre-back for a couple of years now. Okay, he's had a bit of an off year this year with the form of Stones. Ake against Palace was really good, so, you'd trust him. In terms of the full-backs, people have said that we've struggled with pacey attackers. And I think at PSG, we showed that, we don't anymore, that we are quite capable of handling, Neymar and Mbappe, quick flair attacking players that will, that are not hesitant to run at you. So I think it just comes down to who partners Diaz. I think Diaz is a must start in this game.
You'd like to think after a month we've just had, whereby we played Neymar, Mbappe, Haaland and Kane, our defense is more than capable of handling Chelsea's attack. After watching them against Real Madrid both times, I don't think they're anywhere near as fast, particularly breaking, as PSG and even Dortmund to an extent. And Tottenham have Kane and Son who are pretty quick as well. They're not slow at all. So I'd like to think that if our defense do turn up, we're more than capable of handling them. But on the Zinchenko point, you said he is one of the best left backs in the league, and I do firmly believe that too. I think we've always pushed this narrative now as City fans for easily 18 to 24 months now that we need a left back. We need to invest in a left back. We don't. We absolutely have one. We've got a fantastic one now. Yes, he came into the club as a midfielder, but he's really young. He came at 18 years old and he had to compete with David Silva and players like that, Bernardo Silva and players like that for midfield position. And at the age of 18 or 19, whatever it was when he came in, he was never really going to get a good chance. And then there was Foden just behind him as well. And now he's found what I believe is his home in left back. And he more than proved that against PSG the other night, against some of the best players in the world. So, like I keep saying, I think we are more than capable. If we put out our strongest team, beating Chelsea and keeping them scoreless. But I think the interesting point from the City point of view is, will we put out our strongest team, like you said a few minutes ago? I think it almost wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to rotate heavily, because psychologically, the last time Chelsea played against our strongest 11, they lost. Obviously, under Frank Lampard, different outfit, fair enough. But psychologically, for the players in that Chelsea team on that day, they lost to City. And I think it was quite convincing that we were all over them that day. So if we put out our B team this week, and yes, if they lose or they draw, that's fine. Chelsea have done a job against our B team. But if we put out our A team, we're showing our full deck of cards. And then if we were to lose with our A team or our best 11, whatever you like, the cliche term, Chelsea will take great confidence from that. And I think the fact that we are so close to wrapping up the Premier League mathematically, I know you want to do it as soon as possible, but there are much easier fixtures coming in the next few weeks. Like Joe said, you may like the idea of not playing your strongest 11 and leaving Chelsea in that piece of dark that they still have to face the bigger beast of City that is the players like Mahrez or Foden, whoever might play. So we'll talk about our predicted 11 now. We're going to move over to that segment because I think there's quite a few talking points there. Right, so our predicted 11 for City versus Chelsea. As always, we're not in the know. We're not telling you anything that's official. We're just telling what we think Pep might go for. It's what we'd like to see and what we think Pep will go for based on the circumstances. So as always, Ederson and Nets, big game. Any big game that's not the cup, Ederson will play. He's the best in the business. I always say that. And two centre halves, as Stones is still suspended from that red card. Laporte comes in at left side centre half. Then you've got the Rolls Royce himself, Ruben Dias. What a performance against PSG last week. He's just, I think he's the best in the business as of right now. I think in the wings, we're going to see some rotation. Mendy will come in left back, taking Zinchenko's place. It's not an insult to Zinchenko at all. It's just pure rotation. We have the squad depth and we have the quality. And Mendy's not actually been bad in recent weeks when he has played. So I think it's good to give him a go. Cancelo will come in replace of Walker for us anyway. Cancelo has had a lot of ups and downs in recent weeks while Walker has been on fire, possibly playing the football of his life, some people were saying. But as always, like I said, we have the squad depth, so why not rotate? And I think these players, it's not as if we're bringing in someone who's who's not established or proven. These players are fully grown men capable of winning a game of football, and they're at our club for a reason. Joe, what are your thoughts on that back four and the changes that we've made?
I think the centre-backs kind of speak for themselves. Of course, the goalkeeper is just set in stone. He's 100% unless he gets injured somehow. He's Premier League goalkeeper. He plays all the important games, like you said. Stones is still suspended for this game. He'll be back for domestic competition. Obviously, we just have the league left, but he'll be back after this game. So I think he'll opt for Laporte over Ake, just based on, it is a bigger team that we are playing. We are playing Chelsea, so he still does want to win. And as for the fullbacks, I can't say I'm actually that bothered who plays. I'm open to seeing anyone. I know you could move Cancelo to the left and put Walker in on the right, play them two. I don't really care, but I do think changing both of them, because they did play. Walker played both against Paris, and Zinchenko came on in the second half against Paris in the first leg. So I think it's, just try something different. It didn't work the first time in the FA Cup, but of course, with the players that are in front of them, you give it a chance, and as we said before, it's not really too important.
I'm in the exact same boat as you, mate. I'm fully happy to see any changes in the fullback positions. Like you said, Kyle Walker has played two massive games, possibly two of the best games of his career in recent weeks against PSG. So, and he's not the youngest in the world by any means, so it mightn't be the worst thing in the world to give Cancelo a run out. And I have full faith in Cancelo. He's had some great moments this season, and I've no doubt more will come. Moving into midfield, we have chosen Rodri this time over Fernandinho. I'm going to let you in on a little fact here, lads. You may not know this, but Fernandinho's 36. So he can't play every single game. He was fantastic against PSG. He did more than we asked for. We said it in our predicted 11 for PSG. Fernandinho is exactly what we need. He offers that bit more than Rodri defensively, and he did absolutely that. So Rodri comes in for this game, for rotation. And of course, like similar to Cancelo with that position, Rodri can come in and do a fantastic job. He adds great stuff going forward. He's great in the ball. He can link players up. So I've no doubt he'll do a good job too. Then just in front of him, we've gone for Gundogan and Bernardo. Like I say, two very different players. I tell this every week on our predicted 11 when they start. Bernardo, a constant bundle of energy, frighten the life out of any defender because he can pop up right in front of you and nick the ball off you. And Gundogan is just this calming presence. He's a Rolls Royce of a midfielder, in my opinion. He's just so classy, so composed, and he's also a leader in his own right. What are your thoughts on that midfield?
Again, I think it's a common theme with this team. We said before, it's not the most important at the moment. Big game that we've just played. I'm not really too bothered. Zinchenko could be in the midfield for all I care. Could see Foden potentially. The only thing I don't want to see is Fernandinho and Rodri in the same midfield, because that didn't work last time we played Chelsea. I think Pep kind of knows that doesn't work anymore because it doesn't offer too much creativity. So as long as they're both not starting, I think I'll be perfectly happy.
Yeah, you made a point there that if you're a City fan for a while now, or at least the last 2 years, those two words will give you a shiver down your spine. The double pivot. Rodri and Fernandinho played together against Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final, and we had so much misery when we played those two together last year. Double pivot at all, and it's no surprise that it failed us again. But on the Foden thing, I said just before we hit record there, I said to Joe, you know what, I wouldn't be totally against Phil Foden not playing at all. I know, listen, don't get me wrong, guys, I love watching Phil Foden play. He's my favourite player in the squad. He's an absolute joy. But based on the fact that we are playing Chelsea in a Champions League final, I wouldn't be totally against Chelsea not getting a feel for Phil Foden, not getting to experience playing against them. Because the thing is, if they get any joy against a player like Phil Foden this weekend, the player whoever's marking him will be like, I did a job on him a few weeks ago. No problem doing it again. So it's almost kind of like a wild card. Hold him back and save him for the bigger one in a few weeks' time. Yes, we want to win the Premier League this weekend. Don't get me wrong. But we do have that wild card, and we have so much squad depth and great rotation that we can afford to rest players like Foden. And I think he is the gem in this team, and he could be the key for us in that final, and he will start the final, injury pending. So there we go. I think I wouldn't be against him not playing the game at all. But we have obviously Gundogan and Bernardo, and then of course great winners as well. So we're not stuck for talent or quality. Moving into the front three, we've brought Sterling in onto the left wing in replace of Foden, kind of just based on what I'm saying right now. I could be completely wrong, and I have no issue with Foden playing either. That's just kind of my little preference. I wouldn't mind not seeing him play based on the final. So Sterling comes in, had a rocky few weeks, and I think it's fair we point out the guy has received an awful lot of abuse online, racial abuse as well, which is absolutely disgusting to see a player by his own fans being racially abused, or any fans. Racial abuse is not acceptable on any front, and he seems to be the fulcrum of a huge amount of that. He receives a huge amount of that, and that's naturally going to affect a player. It's going to affect anybody. It's such a horrible thing. But he is a confidence player. We have full faith Raheem Sterling can bounce back and do well. He likes going down to London. He's playing against Chelsea if he starts, and it's just a matter of time before he comes back with confidence. I think one goal for Sterling, or one good moment, and then we'll see top level Sterling once again. Do you agree with me on those kind of points, Joe? I think the social media thing is he's been at the brunt of a huge amount of abuse for years recently. People seem to target him because he is this big figure, and it's truly unacceptable.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now, both on and off the pitch. Obviously, his on the pitch performances haven't been the best of recent, which, he has to take account for that, because, it's on him to do well. But the stuff off the pitch is just horrible. You wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's a step too far. We saw this social media boycott. It hasn't really done anything, because it just picked off where it, left before the boycott. We took part in it as well, just out of, everyone else is doing it. We should probably do something as well. It was trying to send a message. Don't get me wrong. It's, it's better than nothing, but, social media companies now have to take charge on this, because, all we can do is, if you see it, report it, and hopefully that they take action. But yeah, he is very much a confidence player. I think we both agree that all it takes is one moment, goal or an assist, some, really good bit of play, and you might see a bit of confidence back. He was really unlucky against PSG when he came on. He had that chance that he just never seemed to get his balance and stay on his feet. I think he's a player that, due to him being a confidence player, the only way that he can get confidence is by playing well. And you kind of just have to play him into form. You don't really have another option. He's not one of the first names on the team sheet. This team sheet, I think, bar Mendy, you would say this is probably our strongest 11. Bar Mendy, on paper. But obviously, due to form, it is slightly, different, because certain players are off form. But, I back him to do well every time he steps foot on the pitch. You've always got to back your players, and we know how good he can be. And he's picked up his performances as of recent. He did all right against Spurs, against Crystal Palace. He had a bit of a shaky first half where I think you were a little bit annoyed. I think I was too, where he just didn't shoot at times. But in the second half, he tried a few more things, and then, it's only up from here, really, for him, because we all know how good he can be.
Yeah, I know. Listen, we're a football channel and we're a city channel, but I just felt the need to point out that he is at the brunt of a huge amount of abuse, and I wanted to make sure that we're making it clear it's completely unacceptable, and we back Sterling and we stand by him, because we know how good he is, and we fully believe he will bounce back, and like I said, just be as good as he was before. And we just need to be patient. We need to be patient with Sterling. The time will come, and you know what? It will do absolutely no harm for our team if he does pick up confidence now in the next few weeks and puts his name in the mix for the Champions League final. We want all our players in good form for the final. But anyway, moving into false nine, it's the man who seems to be absolutely flourishing at false nine every single week, Kevin De Bruyne. He offers so much. His crossing, his finishing, and his leadership is the one thing that has really impressed me in recent weeks. When the chips were down in our poor first half performances, particularly in the Champions League, he was really trying to make things happen. He is a true leader, and I said this, I think, at the PSG stream, that when Fernandinho does ever decide to leave, hopefully not soon, I'm really looking forward to seeing De Bruyne become the official club captain, because he's every characteristic. And after he signed that new deal, it's so clear he wants to get so much success and win as many trophies as possible in the City shirt. And then moving over to the right wing, of course, it's the man of the moment, the man of the month, really. He's been absolutely on fire. The king of Algeria, Riyad Mahrez, 2 goals against PSG there during the week to secure us a spot in the Champions League final. He's had his ups and downs this season. I've been his critic at times, and I'm his biggest supporter right now. The guy is absolutely smashing it, and long may it last. He is so key for us right now. When we don't have an out-and-out striker who can score loads of goals, we rely on people like Foden, Sterling, Mahrez, and Mahrez is more than delivering the goods right now. What do you think about Mahrez these days, Joe?
He's probably at the moment our most on-form player. He got 3 goals over the 2 legs against Paris. He's becoming, what we always thought we bought in the first place. This tricky winger who will score goals, create goals. You know, we always knew he got a left foot. He started using his right foot now, which is brilliant. His first goal against Paris in the second leg was with his right foot. You know, we always knew that he had a decent right foot. He just never seemed to use it. I think the false nine is something that for the rest of this season, I think we need to continue using because it works. I know there's a lot of people, especially in the media, who go, well, if you had a striker, there's someone in the box, but we don't have anyone that we can rely on up front, really. Obviously, there's Ferran Torres, who, whenever he seems to play, he seems to get something. But honestly, I don't want to use the term, you know, not ready because he's young, but I tend to trust a more senior player playing as a, you know, no striker and just relying on someone like Mahrez who has stepped up in recent weeks. He stepped up against Dortmund as well. He's another one of those where he's the first name on the team sheet and there's talks of a new contract.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to see him get a new contract. And obviously, I know in our predicted 11 here, we picked De Bruyne on the basis that that's what we think will happen. I think Pep will want to mathematically finish the Premier League this weekend, and that's our strongest possible option to have De Bruyne in the false nine. But I wouldn't be totally surprised if we did see Sergio Aguero start as net striker this weekend. Obviously, Aguero is 1 goal off breaking the record for most goals scored ever for one club in the Premier League. And he did score that absolute belter against Crystal Palace last weekend. So he is probably going to have a little bit of confidence. He got a few minutes against PSG in midweek there. Obviously, it's his last time playing in the Etihad in the Champions League. I think we will probably see a fair bit of Aguero, definitely, in the remaining games of the Premier League. I wouldn't be totally surprised if he was to play, like I said, against Chelsea this weekend. It all just depends on how badly Pep wants to, because, you know, if you play De Bruyne as a false nine, you're probably going to get a lot more creativity and a lot more spark. But then Aguero does pose that slight goal threat that we saw a glimpse of last weekend. I know we're rambling on here a bit with this predicted 11, but I just want to touch on that Aguero point. What do you think of the idea of him playing?
I think I saw a stat where he's against Chelsea. I think he's the club that he scored the most goals against, so it would make sense. I wouldn't be against it. There's a possibility that we don't see either De Bruyne or Mahrez, and we almost go like we did against Palace, almost a 4-4-2, where we play all of the four, including Torres. I don't think that will happen.
And Jesus, maybe.
Yeah, and Jesus. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. I think Pep's kind of, you know, gone past that for this game at least. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it again later on this season in the games where, you know, like Newcastle, a bit more room to experiment. But, you know, he's another one of these players where if he doesn't start, he'll get on the pitch. He'll be subbed on for at least 10 minutes because he's got a bit to do yet before he leaves.
Absolutely, and he's obviously desperate to win that Champions League. He said he wasn't going to leave City till he won the Champions League. But just on the remaining games of the season, I do think when it is all said and done, it's mathematically wrapped up, we can't be knocked off top spot. I do think you'll see a fair few of the EDS players. Congratulations to them. They've just won Premier League 2 in fantastic fashion as well. So I do think Pep will give a few of them an opportunity to get a half an hour here and there. So that's something we could possibly look forward to. Anyway, that is myself and Joe's predicted 11 for City versus Chelsea. Do let us know your thoughts down below. Who would you change? Would you put anyone in? Would you take anyone out? Anyone in particular? Let us know. We love hearing your thoughts. Now, Joe, I think it's time we got into our score predictions. It's quite a hard one to predict. Both teams, like I said, just qualified for a Champions League final. Probably both oozing confidence. You're expecting quite a bit of rotation from us. I don't think Chelsea possibly have the room to rotate as well as us, because like we said, like before we hit record, they probably only have one real strong starting 11. So I'm going to go to you first just to see what you think and what your predicted score is.
I think I still can't back us to lose. I don't want to back us to drop points either. I think we will concede based on the rotation, especially defensively. That's 3 changes that we've predicted in the defence. So I'm going to say 2-1. I think we will get the win. We will wrap up the title. It'll be close, but we won't show too much before the final.
I'm going to say myself a reverse of the FA Cup semi-final based on how defensively sound Chelsea look. I mean, I know Real Madrid didn't pose too much threat, like they weren't that good going forward, but Chelsea look very well organised, a very Tuchel team. It's the way all Tuchel's teams have been set up over the years, very defensively solid. He puts huge emphasis on that. But I do think we're going to have the bit between our teeth this time rather than the FA Cup semi-final, just that bit more, and we'll win 1-0. I'm going for a 1-0. I don't think we'll concede. I think our defence, even without the two favorite wing backs in Zinchenko and Walker right now, I do think we're so good defensively that we won't concede. I don't think Chelsea are good enough going forward to score this weekend. And their Real Madrid tie would have taken a huge amount out of them. So Joe's saying 2-1, I'm saying 1-0. I think we take either. You know, it's a massive chance to wrap the Premier League. Come on, City. Please just get it done this time. This is the week. This is our weekend. We'd love to see you win it on the pitch and just start focusing on that big Champions League final now. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up there. Let us know your score predictions actually in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you think. It's kind of a hard one to predict, so let us know. We're going to wrap it up there. Like the video if you haven't done already. Subscribe if you're new. I think we're 2 off 230. The growth has been amazing. We really, really appreciate it. Honestly, all of us, we really, really appreciate it. So help us 230 if you would do. And we will see you for a live watch along for City Chelsea on Saturday night. Peace.